Hey guys, as most of you know, Target has changed their hours for FMOC recently. Well, probably a month ago or so now. They are now open Monday through Friday, 6 o'clock a.m. until 6:30 p.m. Central Time. They are not available on the weekends or after hours, holidays. We still can do our jobs without FMOC. Sometimes we're still going to need FMOC when basic troubleshooting or basic equipment failures on site are not the problem. If it does become a programming issue, installing a new board in an RTU where you would need a modstat, a program download to the board to get the unit up and running. Those calls should not be ran after hours if you know that's what you're going there for, or on weekends. Also sometimes on DHUs with performance issues and the complexities of DHUs. One other system that I would like to add in there is some of the stores that have VAVs or VVTs tied to a unit on the roof with several boxes in the store to do offices. You likely will need FMOC to have them look into the sub-programming to find out which box, temperatures, zones, that kind of thing. But with all that said, just wanted to go over some basic understanding so we're all on the same page so that we can keep moving forward with Target and so that we don't let this become a roadblock for us. FMOC, as in this little diagram I have here, is in an office building here in the Twin Cities. They monitor Target stores via the internet, which is connected to each store. They have limitations. They can only monitor the data that EMS system shows them on their computer screen in the office at FMOC. So their role in this is to help us with sharing that data with us. Their role is not to diagnose and figure out what's wrong with the units for us. That's where we come in. That's why they pay us to be on the roof, next to the unit, looking in the unit, and figuring out what works, what doesn't work, burnt wires, blown fuses. They cannot see any of that. Their data will not tell them if there's a blown fuse in a unit. Their data will tell them that they have a comm loss to unit number 1. It's our job to be standing on the roof next to unit number 1 and realize that maybe the PMT was doing filter changes yesterday and he forgot to turn the disconnect on. Or there's a blown fuse or a blown wire. But again, all they know is that there's a comm loss to the unit. They can't see what we can see when we're standing on the roof. So we still need to do our job. We can do much of our job without talking to them. If you're smart and you just got to think about the whole system, is what I want to get across to everyone. Most of you that work Target know this already, but in Target, in an electrical room somewhere in that Target store, and every store is different because they were all built at different ages by different contractors. There is a control box that's typically called the LGET panel. It typically has an IOP on the front of it. IOP is just an information override panel. It gives us as technicians a view into the controls in the store. It will show you each unit individually, what the unit's set points are, if the unit is running or not, and supply temperatures, zone temperatures. So it gives you a look at if the unit should be running for cooling or not. And then you can take that data and continue your troubleshooting if FMOC is not available. LGET panel. I thought I had a picture of the outside of a box, but most of you guys that have worked on these know what I'm talking about. It's a large control box in the electrical room in the store. In the IOP panel is the LGET. This is where they being FMOC, their internet cable is connected here. This is how their portal into the store. All the rooftop units are connected via the service modules here. And then the IOP panel is mounted on the door of this. This IOP panel, as you can see, on this one shows the zone temp, shows the cooling set point at 74 and the zone temp at 74. You guys might not be able to see that in the video. It shows that the discharge air temp is 62 degrees and the heating set point is at 68 degrees. You can scroll through every rooftop unit. It tells you what part of the store it is. This is AC02, I believe, and it's intimate apparel. It tells you the rooftop unit number and what part of the store. Gives you valuable information that you can also get from FMOC, but after hours, these are the tools we have at our disposal, so we need to use these tools to still get the work done whenever possible. If I take these two and set them down here, again, IOP is on this panel in an electrical room somewhere in the store. The LGET is this box in the store. Want to make a recommendation here to everybody. With ASTIA, you can go into the Details tab in ASTIA, tap on Order Information, scroll to the bottom of that order information, and there's a tab there that's called Site Notes. You can tap on that and put in Access Notes. You can add a note there as to where this electrical room is in the store. In other words, IOP panel located in electrical room, rear of store, left side of fire hall. So that whoever the next technician is, we can easily find that IOP. We're going to have to start using these. For those of you that don't, it's a great tool to have after hours, weekends. Even when you're at the store and it's busy and it takes a half an hour to wait for FMOC, you can simply go gather this data on your own. In the rooftop units, at the majority of Target stores, is an RTM module. You guys all know what these things look like. There's old style modules that have dip switches on them that are very nice. You can actually turn on that output without putting a jumper on it. There's auto, off, and on. This is a newer style, more common RTM module. These outputs here on this side, guys, are all DO for digital output. Just a simple turn. It's just an on and off. It's just a dry. It's a relay with a dry set of contacts. You can see in this picture, I had one of our technicians send us a picture. It's just a little jumper lead where he cut the wire off the end and he uses it at Target stores, and you jumper these two little hoops that are right here together. It energizes the coil for this relay. This is just our internal relay in the unit, and it sends power out on fan, cool 1, cool 2. This is how you test at a Target store. Test the output from the RTM module. Down at the bottom down here are usually some AO, analog outputs. These are, as the term states, analog. They're modulating outputs. These are used for dampers or anything in the unit that would need a variable voltage. These are usually 0 to 10 or 2 to 10 volts DC at the bottom of the module. So again, we can still, just like if the unit had a thermostat in a store, if you go to a Catherine store, there's a light stat in the store. You cannot adjust the set point on it below a certain point, so you have limitations. If you know that the light stat is calling for cool 1, and you go to the roof, and on the rooftop unit, you've got an input into Y1 on the terminal strip, and the unit's not running, Target and FMOC can't help us with that. That's not their role. Their role is to give us data if needed, mod stats, program downloads, that kind of thing. We can still work on the equipment on our own is the point I'm trying to get across. Target is going in a little bit different direction, guys. They're going to limit the role of FMOC and rely on us in the field to do our job without as much interaction with FMOC. So, with all that said, on the left side of the RTM, again, most of you guys have figured this out, but there is it's a common service call we all get for safety alarm. This is just an input, everyone. It's a dry, it's tied in the unit to a dry set of contacts. Target sends out, I believe it's 5 volts DC on this. If it gets 5 volts DC back, they can actually configure this output on Seasons 4 DHUs. They are actually looking for power coming back here. So that power coming back to it would tell the RTM module that the unit has no safety alarms. On some units, it's going to be a different logic here. So you have to look at the unit, figure out what it's wired to. It's just telling the unit that it's just telling the EMS or the thermostat, the remote controlled thermostat here, if the unit has an alarm or not. Just like if a carrier unit trips on the compressor lockout relay, it energizes terminal X on a carrier rooftop unit. That terminal X is wired into here. It doesn't tell Target or FMOC what it tripped on. It just tells them that there's some kind of an alarm in the unit. It's our job as technicians standing on the roof to figure out what's wrong with the unit. All they can do is tell you they just have raw data. That safety alarm doesn't tell them what's wrong with it. It just tells them that the unit has some kind of an alarm. Could be smoke alarms are usually wired separately. This could be a freeze stat. It could be on an AON unit where one of the overload relays has tripped on a motor or a compressor. High pressure switch, low pressure switch, fuse blown, any number of things. But just wanted to share with you all a little bit of logic and understanding here on don't rely on FMOC to give you all the answers. If you use them wisely, they have a lot of tools at their disposal. They can often look at history at a store. Some of you know this, some of you don't. If you go to a Target store tomorrow on Monday and you're having issues with the unit, you can ask them to look at the zone temperature over the last 24 hours and figure out what time of day the unit is having problems. You can decide if it's a weather-related issue, a issue where they have the dock doors open in the morning because they're loading trucks. Is it an issue with programming? The unit's programmed for occupied, unoccupied incorrectly. There are several things at Target stores I've found over the years that you would assume has been programmed correctly, but it's not. So don't be afraid to ask questions. That is where FMOC can help you in one of those strange coincidences where it is logic or programming. But this is just a thermostat. Target can change the programming on this thermostat remotely, and they can look at the temperatures of this unit remotely. This thermostat does not need Target's input every day in every heat and cooling cycle. Most of you understand that. This is just they program it, it'll stay programmed for the next 2 years and run on its own without any outside intervention. The communication part to FMOC is just for monitoring. They can look at histories, troubleshooting, change set points. They can test the unit by energizing the outputs just like we can on site. We don't need them there to do that. Something you guys all need to understand is these outputs, these little LEDs here, when you clip this jumper on here, you're energizing the coil for that relay. Just like a coil and a relay, an ice cube relay or something in a unit. So if you energize this and the light doesn't come on, sometimes the lights will burn out, but the output doesn't come on, you just got a bad relay in the board. But the light coming on in the jumper doesn't directly send power out of that output. Something else I wanted to show you guys, most of you have figured this out, is, see this little red bar? A lot of times that's a black bar. That is, every one of these outputs has power in and power out. The power in is supplied externally on the board. This red wire right here is power in, 24 volts. And then this bar, if you guys ever take this out of here, is a bar that's got a bunch of fingers on it. It just jumpers. It's just a fancy jumper to jumper power input into each one of those relays. So it's just power going in. When the relay energizes, it closes a contact and sends power back out on that wire, and the fan comes on, or the cooling one comes on. It's not rocket science, everyone. It's just a thermostat that can be programmed remotely and monitored remotely. So use the IOP panel to your advantage. Find it in the store, label it in a STIA so you know where it is. You'll get to know it and love it after a while. And just keep in mind that Target FMOC is open from 6 a.m. until 6:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, Central Standard Time. Central Time. If you need them, you can call them during those hours, but they will be unavailable during weekends and before and after those hours. So, with all that said, keep up the good work out there, everyone. Understand the system, understand FMOC's limitations in helping us. They are an excellent tool if we use them properly. There's a ton of information there. But we need to understand how these things work. It's just, again, this is just a thermostat in the unit, which makes it nice because instead of having to walk down to the store and look at the thermostat and come back up to the roof, if these lights are on, fan cool 1 and cool 2, and the unit's not running, you can simply check the output wires for voltage, and then just like you would from a thermostat, this wire goes into the unit just like a thermostat would, and just troubleshoot the unit. Work the problem, prove your theories, and come to a conclusion at the end of the day. So that's all I've got for today, everyone. You guys have a great weekend. Sorry this came out a little bit late in the weekend, but had some things I had to take care of. So you guys all be safe out there, and have a good week. Thanks, guys.